I want to welcome you back to the Darren Sargent Leadership Podcast. This is part 2 of the exclusive interview with Mayra Martinez. Listen in as we tell the rest of the story. Kind of sounded like Paul Harvey there. Not really, but some of you don't even know who Paul Harvey is, probably. That's sad. Hopefully you do, but maybe you don't. Jump into this episode as we finish up the overcoming story with Mayra Martinez right here on the Darren Sargent Leadership Podcast. Thanks for joining. Let's get started with the interview. Yeah, but that was a funny moment. That was a funny moment to watch your husband just deal with, like I said, it wasn't funny then.
Correct.
But now looking back, thank God that he allowed us to be able to look back on it. And that
Absolutely.
So,
I am here to be able to talk about it.
Story because it gets really good from here on out.
So actually, before we go there, do you remember how God showed up when all the doctors said, that's it, we've tried everything, there's nothing else we can do at this point? And
they hadn't figured out what it was at that point, right?
Oh no, it wasn't until 2 years later actually that they found out what actually happened. But no, in that moment, they had no idea what was truly been happening. Once I came out of the coma, it was one of those, congratulations, woohoo, she's out of the coma. But wait a minute, we're still stuck. We're still at square one because we don't know why she's paralyzed. We don't know anything. But God showed up and allowed me to get back to life. They did this thing called plasmapheresis, and they did 5 of those sessions that cleansed my blood out. What does that remind you of?
Yeah.
Once it cleansed my blood, I was able to start once again working to rebuild my body. And I remember vividly the day that they said, once we do this procedure, your mind's going to want to start giving yourself, signals to move a finger, do this, do that. Don't do it. First thing I did. That's the first thing I did. Tell my body to move a finger, move this, move that. And I was unsuccessful in that moment for the first 30 minutes. But then 30 minutes later, my husband raises the back of my bed. And for the first time, I could move my wrists.
Yeah.
It was celebration, rebirth happening right there in that room after my blood was cleansed. Again, what does that remind you?
Well, come on, clap.
That's right. So from there, I rebuilt my body, worked extremely hard. And I mean, every single day went to 4 different facilities to work really, really hard at rebuilding. And I remember every single day that a person would give up their moment to train with a therapist. I was raising my hand, give me their 15 minutes or give me their 30 minutes of physical therapy or hand therapy, because I was so committed to getting better. So I got better with a lot of effort. And by the way, if anyone wants to see some of that, if you do hashtag Chronicles of My Miracles, CIDP, because in that moment, that's what they thought I had, CIDP. It was never confirmed, but that's what they thought. So a lot of images and pictures of my journey are available if you would like to see them with that hashtag Chronicles of My Miracles.
I'll put it in the show notes. And then also if I have your permission, I'm asking live, if I have your permission, I'm going to put some of these pictures in the video feed. So when people watch this podcast, they can see some of the journey.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So I get better. I get back to work. As I'm back at work, I literally am giving everything I can, but my body is constantly reminding me, hey, remember, you just had a life situation that happened. Kind of can't be the old Mayra. And starting to understand who the new Mayra was going to be was extremely difficult. But I started adapting, I started learning and getting to know my new self. And the more I learned, the more I realized that I needed to pivot. I needed to do something different with my life. And I did the one thing that I never, ever intended to do in my whole entire life. And that is I decided to open up M Squared. But I'll never forget the day I called Aaron Sargent and I said, I'm thinking that this is what I want us to do going forward. And my husband had already been trying to get us to do this for a really, really long time. But I was either just too content and comfortable with what I was doing, or just simply didn't believe in myself. I don't know. Could have been all of the above.
Yeah.
But your advice was, if God left you in this world and you have an ability to redo and create a new chapter, do something different with it.
Yeah.
Pray about it and do something about it. And that really stuck with me. I went home, I prayed and cried because it was the realization of old Mayra is over. And
well, and I think too, this is not just going and doing something different because you don't like what you're doing. You were highly successful in your job. Like you said, you were the first female vice president of this corporation. So it wasn't like you're leaving McDonald's, running the fry machine. You're leaving something that you had spent years building and becoming and growing, and and now you're in the middle of this struggle for survival with your life. And I remember, I'll be honest with you, I remember thinking, number one, I thought she's got to do something different because this job is going to kill her. That was my thought. I was thankful that you were gainfully employed, that you were successful, that you were doing what you were doing. But I could see from an outside perspective, this was killing you. The stress of this was adding to what you were already dealing with in your body. It was becoming even more pronounced. And I can also remember sometimes telling you when I'd see you at church, like, Mayra, don't push it.
Yes, don't overdo it. I have it memorized.
Don't overdo this. You don't want to end back up where you were, where we're trying to fight for your survival. So, but that was, I'll be honest, that was my first thoughts, was she's got to do something. I had no idea at the time till you started talking about what you felt. So that to me was a sign, okay, God's speaking to her. She's finally getting that. Old Mayra is saying, okay, I'm saying goodbye to the old Mayra. Na 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 na. Hey, goodbye. And we're going to embrace this new journey. And I think success comes in seasons. Life comes in seasons where we move from one season to the next, and we have to understand that season. My wife and I just went through this a couple of years ago. New season, new chapter. But anyways, let's pick back up the tail, because this is just amazing stuff. This may have to be a two-parter. I may have to cut this into 2 videos. So if you're watching this now, this could be the second video. I'm not sure it's going to be all one video. We're going to do a 2-parter, I think, and maybe a 3 and a 4 and a 5.
That's right. And then we'll just let you know when the book comes out. Why not?
That's right.
I almost feel like that's what we're meant to do with all of this.
That's right.
I've skipped so much, actually, in order to fit it all
in.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, there's so much more to this story that we can unpack and unearth and have other episodes on this. I think so.
Absolutely. So I decide it's going to be M Squared. I am going to become a solopreneur and just
did you know what you had at this point? Had they defined your disease, your sickness?
No, I had gotten tested actually for multiple things. And at this point, this was, January of 2020. 2020, yes. I went to UCSD. They did a 3-part test for porphyria. They thought that it could be that. And sure enough, within about maybe 2 months, actually, I was diagnosed. So I was diagnosed around February timeframe, and I actually resigned my company in March. So I went from getting diagnosis and resigning within a 1 week period. Actually, it was intense for something that major, because what I have, I declare that it is not what I have. I'm not taking it as my own.
Yeah.
But what the doctors believe,
What the
and what my
doctor said,
blood.
what the report of the doctor said.
That's right. What the report says is that I have porphyria, acute intermittent porphyria, which is a broken gene that doesn't allow me to make enough hemoglobin in my body. And because of that, chemicals build up in my body, and they keep on throwing me into these things called porphyria attacks. They are absolutely horrific. I've had 27 of them since I've been diagnosed. And in spite of all that, God has allowed the business to elevate. God has allowed the business and my health to stay at this place, but the business to keep on doing this. And I'm just
now you've got the freedom to do what you're called to do. This is what you're called to do. Speak to Mayra, speak to the fear of leaving something that's solid and foundational and stepping out on this uncertain plank that goes to we don't know where. Speak to that fear for just a minute. What was going on in your mind?
I am the sole provider in my family. I have been for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And for me, it was very difficult. The thought of it's consistent earnings that come in. It's the benefits that I had as an executive. I had great benefits, and that was constant in my brain. It was also constant in my brain that I never once, and I really do truly mean this, I never once thought about opening my own business. And that was scary. And I remember facing that by saying, God, if you left me on this earth and you want me to do this, I'm putting it back on you. You're going to make me successful. I'm only going to act. You're going to give me the vision. I will act, and you will allow me to do so. And you're going to allow me to have the health. And let me tell you, that's hard. It's hard when every single month I have 2 attacks, and I have to constantly remember what I am constantly telling God. You're going to keep me healthy because I know that you want me healthy. And it goes back to I am who you say I am, not what I am experiencing, not what I'm going through, not to my circumstances. I will create my own reality. And that's tough. It's really hard. It's really hard.
And
but I think that when you have that foundation,
exactly,
you can rest. You can rest.
I've lived by this simple statement all my life. My circumstance is not going to define me. I'm going to define this. If I let this define me, then the labels of disabled, the labels of handicapped, the labels of, limits will be all I know. But if I choose to shape it into what I believe God created me this way for, one author says life is a test, life is a temporary assignment. So if life is a test, everything we go through, we learn from, but it's also a temporary assignment, which means we have a limited time on this earth. So we have got to do what we are called to do and quit wasting time.
Exactly.
Quit trying to blame everything on Aunt Mabel, who didn't give you enough ice cream when you were 3. So that's why you have a problem, and just face it. You can only fix what you're willing to face.
That's right.
And so I think when you got to this place where, okay, I'm the one that keeps things going here, and I'm jumping out here into uncertain waters. There was a purpose behind it. God knew what he was doing. We don't always know, but God knows.
Exactly. And believing that is hard when you're watching the reality be something different. That's when you really have to turn on your spiritual eyes. And I cannot emphasize that enough. Yeah. This is why And I'm telling every parent that's listening to this is why you take your kids to church every single Sunday opportunity that you get, because I have been fed for years in preparation for this massive life test that came my way. And I'm grateful, and this is why it started with God had organized the chaos so that my life would be prepared to overcome this huge challenge. Sure. I don't know that I would have been able to overcome my mind, because I could have easily lost my mind in the midst of the whole scariness.
Just with the pain.
Starting the business. Well, yeah, but also in starting the business, because it all relates, it's all related. It's all one of the same. And
it's all the same,
really,
this is when same thread.
It is. And this is what I'm constantly telling myself in the middle of fear of starting something so massive. I kept on telling myself that it was going to be a test for myself, that I could actually do this, that I could believe God and actually achieve what God was telling me that I was more than capable of doing. So it was just believing that. And that's not easy to do. It's really hard. It sounds much easier because, it's easier said than done, but it can be done. I'm living proof that it can be done.
You are. And I go back to, I think the most vivid memory of the entire struggle when 2018, 2019, the back and forth. I remember the day of standing outside your room with your husband. We were in the hallway, and he's basically saying, okay, Pastor, I need your help in planning her funeral. And I could see the fear in his eyes. I could see the concern, of course, of everyone around that was attached to this situation. They had no idea early on what was going on. And I remember saying this. I said, Pastor Wilson, let's not go there yet. Let's hold off. We can work on it, but not yet. And I think at this time his brother was in, your parents may have been in, I can't remember, but I just remember speaking that. And at the time, I'm just being totally honest here. I left feeling like I had done him a disservice, that I had kind of, just squashed his fear and said, like the Superman of faith here, going to come in here. But I think we all second guess some of the things that we give advice to and say, but I felt like this story's not finished. This story is not finished. And now on the flip side of it, you're still, having things that you got to work through and deal with. But now look at it. While you were talking, I was thinking, I wonder what Mayra felt like when she got her first contract in M Squared that told her you made the right choice.
Oh my goodness. You know how that went down? I didn't have a website. I didn't have a payment system. It was 2 weeks into, I had resigned. I'd started my business. 2 weeks into it, I said, I'm not even taking any phone calls or anything, because my oldest daughter was getting married that month. And I was not even planning on working. Well, I got a phone call from a client, and it was a position that I had not really even worked for, or that worked in that space within the industry, of course, but it's a chief information officer role, IT, not the type of position that I normally would recruit for.
Yeah.
Long story short is that the person ended up being placed within only 1 month. So within less than a month of opening M Squared, I am making, not only getting the first requisition, but also closing it. The person is starting in a week from that point. So a month and a week into it, M Squared got its first payment, which we had to figure out how to even get all of that, because we didn't even have a company name. I didn't even know what it was going to be called.
Oh man, God is so good.
It's beyond good.
It's just so amazing. It's so amazing. Well, I just can't thank you enough for just coming on and being a part of this. And like I said, I think you'll see more of this in the future. There's more of this story that needs to be talked about, and we'll dive deeper into it. But I just want to thank you, Mayra, for coming on and being a part of this. This was a special time. So any parting remarks or parting shots you want to throw across the bow here before we wrap it up?
Oh, I will say, this has been a joy to be able to relive some of these stories, and we will say to be continued on the story of what I experienced when I was under and actually had an outer body.
We got to have that's a whole episode by itself.
That is absolutely a whole episode by itself. But what I would like to leave you with as a listener is your life has value.
Yes.
Your life has a purpose. And it's up to you to decide what kind of meaning you're going to give that life. So delay immediate gratification as much as you can. Every opportunity that you're given, delay gratification as much as possible. Why? Because that will allow you to build a meaningful life.
That's good stuff. I like it. I say it all the time. If your life has value, and it does, then we've got to give it the meaning that we were created for. So incredible. Everyone, thanks for watching. We will have more of these, so stay tuned. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, please do so. You can go to youtube.com/@DarrenSargentLeadership and subscribe so you can be notified of these. Hit the notification icon. Make sure you hit that like button. Tell everyone about it. Put it on all your posts. Share it. This story needs to be heard. It's going to be heard even more as we move forward. Excited about what God is doing. Mayra, thank you so much for being a part of this. And we appreciate you. Our family loves your family. We're excited about the future, what God is doing. Have an incredible day.
We love you very much as well. Thank you for constantly having us in your life and in your prayers and in your covering. That is very important to us. Thank you for that. We love
All right.
you.
God bless.
God bless.
I want to thank you for listening to part 1 and part 2 of the Overcoming episode with exclusive interview with Mayra Martinez. Hope you enjoyed it. Please check us out. If you're listening to this on podcast, check us out at YouTube at youtube.com/@DarrenSargentLeadership. If you'd like to see the interview, it's there along with, over 100 different videos now. Thanks for joining. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for being a part of this journey. Now go take on your day. And remember, greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. Our God's a great God. He's got great plans for you. God bless.